Well, now to something a bit different. And if you sometimes feel you're working with a bunch of psychos, chances are you might just be.
When I think psychopath, this is what flashes through my head.
I did not put that there. Honestly, that was not me. Graphics?
But what do other people think defines the term psycho?
I think of murderers. Anyone that's willing to kill someone.
Well, I guess Hitler, right?
Oliver Millet.
Hannibal, the cannibal guy who eats people's brains.
Despite the commonly held perception that psychopaths are by nature violent, that's not always the case.
I think that there are certain contexts in life where being a psychopath can predispose you to great success. I've interviewed psychopathic special forces soldiers, psychopathic surgeons, a top barrister.
And while there are 20 key characteristics, the fundamental factors are a lack of remorse, pathological lying, manipulation, egotistical, callous, self-centred, glib and superficial charm. In fact, 1 in 100 people have high psychopathic tendencies. So if you're not one, chances are you know one. In a new twist on testing, scientists are now examining kids in a bid to catch psychopathic behaviour early. It's controversial territory.
Once they grow up and mature, some of the traits actually reduce. So it's very dangerous to identify children at a young age.
So is giving Junior a complex personality test really a good idea? Or are we running the risk of diagnosing normal, risk-taking kids as budding psychopaths?
Jonica Newby is a reporter for Catalyst on ABC TV and has been delving into the world of psychopaths. Jonica, is this a good idea? Surely we'll just label kids. They're not exactly going to say to a parent, your kid's a psychopath, are they?
Well, true, but you know, if you were a mother and you suspected that your child was like this, wouldn't you want to know? And the thing is that no psychologist will actually label a child a psychopath, fortunately. You have to be over 18 for that. Instead, what they say is that these kids show callous, unemotional traits. Now, it's not something that would ever be made public, but as a mother, you might really want to know this because it'll make a huge difference to how you interact with that child.
Well, my kids are very emotional. They should be okay. But so the kids, do they get a different test than adults? Or what are they looking for with the kids?
Yeah, they do get a different test, but it is looking at pretty similar things. So they're looking at things like fearlessness, remorselessness. These kids don't regret it when they do something wrong, and they don't regret it if they do something that hurts someone else. Not a great characteristic in a child.
Jonica, I'm 28 weeks pregnant. Are psychopaths born or are they made?
Bit of each. It is really looking like it's hereditary now, and there was even suggestion from one of the scientists I spoke to that it may go down the male side of the family. So look at your husband first.
All right, that's comforting to know.
Does he look you in the eye? And then, of course, it's a combination. And the thing is about psychopathy, people tend to think of the killer, the violent person. Violence isn't actually one of the characteristics of a psychopath. But if you have a bad upbringing, you may end up being a violent killer even, or certainly some sort of criminal. If you've got a great upbringing and it just dials down those potentially psychopathic traits, you could end up just making a killing on the market, you know, running a company.
Now, Jonica, I need you to know this is a hypothetical question, all right? But if I had if I had a psychopathic boss, what would be the best way to deal with him?
Interesting you say hypothetical, because of course psychopaths are overrepresented in the media. I'm afraid it's one of those professions that seems to attract them. If you've got a boss and he's not causing you problems, you're probably okay. But if you are the victim of a psychopath, you're probably better to cut and run. It's pretty hard to win against them.
Well, I might be sacked after that question. Thanks, Jonica.
And colleagues can be psychopaths too. Thanks for joining us tonight, Jonica. It'll be interesting to see what happens with it all.
Thank you.
Don't you reckon Jonica could have a field day going and doing a study and running that checklist in Parliament?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Isn't it so disturbing to think they can either grow up to be like killers or politicians or CEOs? It's really weird.
It's a bit of a worry, to be honest. I mean,
Your dad didn't tick many of those boxes, did he?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I think they should run it on the front bench.
There's more of that story tonight on Catalyst on the ABC, should say that.
Now, look, on the subject of politics, and I should disconnect this a little bit, but how about Barnaby Joyce? He said something today about climate change. Check it out.
The idea that you can change the temperature of the globe from a room in this building. I mean, it's completely and utterly fruity.
No, you're fruity, Barnaby.
Well, now